more than adequate crowd. So thank you all for showing up. We've got 4 good papers this afternoon to finish up things this first day. We will start with a paper by a number of authors from UC Santa Barbara. We'll move on to a paper that Grant Ferguson will be presenting. Co-author Paul Kelsnap will be observing. Move on to L&T and finish off with Michael Thomas and Robert Powling. So without any further delay, get to it.
Okay, my name is Skylar Covich, and I'm presenting the introduction and some brief background on our paper on presidential character traits and economic performance. The example of George H.W. Bush in 1988 and 1992 was a major inspiration for this paper. People thought that he had positive character traits in 1988. The economy was good, and he was vice president in the outgoing Reagan administration. Yet there's little evidence that he actually caused the economy to grow. So it's likely that people had higher opinions of him because of the growing economy, rather than so much his own personality and accomplishments. People often assume that character trait perceptions of presidents are based on the individual personalities of presidents and people's perceptions of them. But this paper argues that both subjective and objective economic performance influences people's perceptions of character traits, such as morality, intelligence, leadership, and caring. A particular contribution of our paper is new analysis indicating that aggregate economic indicators influence individual perceptions of presidential character. Now, before getting to our data and findings, I should say something about the theoretical background on which our research is based. Although we don't make arguments about vote choice, an important reason why the sorts of character trait perception matters, aside from general interest in presidential approval ratings, is because of its contribution to voting decisions. And our other topic, economic voting, is of course also an important contributor to voting decisions. So to develop our argument, we use literature on both individual voting patterns and aggregate election outcomes in the U.S. And I should mention here that research about character evaluations became more practical in 1980 after the NES began asking such questions. Now, for voting decisions, numerous studies have found that party ID, issue opinion, and retrospective voting are important ways that individuals make voting decisions. And our research does not contradict this, but findings in this area are definitely important to consider in our argument and analysis. Another set of literature develops models to correlate change in economic indicators and national election results. So how do economic conditions influence individual voting decisions? Retrospective voting is a part of the answer because economic performance is definitely a well-known important factor in people's perceptions of presidential performance and partisan loyalty for weak partisans. But personal character perceptions, like morality, etc., are not part of such studies on retrospective voting and other economic voting studies in many cases. So we have a lot of information about why they vote, but less information about voters' feelings about the candidates and their personalities. We do know that much of the job of campaigning is to manage voters' impressions of candidates and also of the economy. Again, although we don't get into analyzing the impact of particular traits, perceptions on voting decisions, we do link character trait perceptions to the economy, which has the potential to increase the importance of economic voting, because people are developing perceptions of presidential character traits largely through their perceptions of the economy and economic performance. We particularly, as I said earlier, developed new findings to show that aggregate economic perceptions influence these character trait perceptions, which is a comparatively less explored argument. And this is true for most of the character traits we're looking at, like intelligence and caring and morality. Finally, we argue that people should attribute presidential character to the economy, because people do attribute economic performance to the president and his policies. This is true for intelligence and caring for reasons that are pretty clear, and also for morality, as we find in our paper. Intelligent presidents should be good for the economy, at least according to voters, and the public would like to vote for a president of good character, or at least take that into account. And if economic performance is so important, then this limits the ability of campaigns to shape perceptions of candidate character traits. It's more important to convince people that the economy is good, so that people will then see the candidate character traits as good. And now Lisa Argyle will take over and present the data and results which strengthen our argument.